better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and this week, Mikey made us watch
Peggy
Sue
Sue
goes back in time and makes the
married.
exact same decision she made before.
I know. It's real. I'm very upset by the end of this film.
Well, okay. Actually, if you look at the time loop, she just made those decisions and went forward back to her original body.
You think that she had already made those decisions and had lived out that life? Yeah, no, I'm with you.
No. I think her consciousness traveled back in time to complete the loop. Like she's living that life, but she went back and then made the choices to come back because he wrote the inscription in the book, which is an unnecessary addition to this movie. But I was here for it to be like, oh, she really did travel through time.
That was the story I was most here for. But what you're theorizing is that the loom is overloaded and they need to launch a thing to pull her from all the timelines.
How dare you bring Wanted into this?
That's not Wanted.
Is it not?
That's not what. Well, no, there's one in Loki now too. The time loom is now a big
loom
thing.
in Loki, and there's a giant loop, and it's like a whole thing.
No, okay, so like she got pregnant in high school, right?
At 18,
Right.
yeah.
Do you think it's the poet's baby?
No, I mean, it might be. Helen Hunt does look a little bit more like the poet than Nick Cage.
Well, Helen Hunt looks like her mom, regardless. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly love seeing a young Helen Hunt in this movie.
Yeah.
I love Helen Hunt in everything.
Yeah.
Helen Hunt is immaculate, wonderful queen.
And she was only in it for like 10 minutes, but she's great.
I think when she had her heart attack or whatever that was, she did travel back in time, but then made the decisions that led her to the life she hated. So really, this is on her.
Well, but she does make different decisions, though.
I do think her life now is on her, Mikey. Yes.
That is true.
Because she had the opportunity to marry a billionaire and married Nick Cage.
Oh, and also, she made him the billionaire.
She did.
He wouldn't have invented microchips without her traveling back in time.
Mikey, she talks about some of the things that she wanted to do that she hadn't done, including banging that poet and getting the sexiest book dedication of all. So we know that she made some different decisions, but then landed at the same place, which is like Nicolas Cage with those teeth is the cruelest twist of fate ever.
Okay, let me reframe this movie.
Okay.
A woman travels back in time to seduce and molest high school students.
I didn't know we were doing Never Been Kissed again.
Except she's like 45 years old or something. Like
In her mind, and she's just seducing children. She's like,
I know.
I'm way above you in age, but also get out your penis.
I know tricks.
I mean, I bet she does at this point.
I don't know how I feel about
You know, Peggy Sue was the throat goat.
She married Reagan?
That's when I figured out that it had to be a female protagonist. Because, like, let's say Nicolas Cage went back in time and fucked his high school students.
Mikey, I'm going to pitch to you that there is a version of this movie that is better, way better, that has a male protagonist. But the difference is the male protagonist goes back as a teenager because this movie is basically shittier Back to the Future.
Yes. Well, and he doesn't have sex with his mom or anyone. But also, he doesn't have the consciousness of a 45-year-old in his body.
He just steals rock music from black people. And so, like...
Well, still bad. Yeah.
And yeah, my thing is, as I was watching this movie, I realized that I think for me, I really need time travel movies or time loop movies to have a definitive goal, right?
Yes.
Like I'm going back in time to do a thing. And other things may happen that change that, but I have a goal and a plan. I'm not really here for movies where people just transport back in time and they're just like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just fuck all these teenagers.
Yeah, her plan, air quotes, is bonkers the way she bounces around in the past. I'm like, girl, you are not responsible.
And for a huge part of it, I was like, there were huge parts of this movie that made me cry because it was just her going back and I would assume visiting people that she has lost who have died, her grandparents.
Yeah. Those moments were very sweet. Yeah.
Very sweet, very sad. But then we've got Nicolas Cage with Pee Wee Herman's voice and Joe Biden's teeth, and like he's just walking around like it's normal.
Nicolas Cage's choices in this movie are so absolutely.
I've got the hair. I've got the teeth. I've got the voice. Johnny's got his bride. Johnny's got his hands.
It is so bonkers.
When he said Huang, I lost my mind, guys.
I've got to get home. When he was, oh my God.
Also, I'm never not referring to my dick as my thrill hammer from now
Thrill
on.
hammer is the best.
When she said that, I was like, oh, I'm writing that down.
Yeah. That's definitely, that's a Halloween season of the witch. Like he would call it a thrill hammer.
Yeah, that's a Papa Atkins kind of thing. Yeah.
It's a Papa Atkins thing. At one point in my notes, I wrote down, this movie would be way better if he had a wooden hand. And then literally seconds after I wrote it, he just said, I'll cut off my right arm if that's what you want. And I was like, did I time loop while watching this movie?
The movie was it was everything I wanted because I'd never seen it before. So it delivered on what I was wanting, which is a bonkers time travel Nicolas Cage joint.
Yes.
That they try to solve with chaos magic and sigils.
Yeah, the fact that she's running around telling everyone I'm from the future and like no one gives a shit.
She only tells one person that really, right? And then her grandparents at the end.
Yeah, her grandparents and the guy who's going to invent pantyhose.
And then the whole entire cult that tries to get her back to the future.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a cult. Is it a cult? I thought it was like a Rotary Club.
I mean, they're not stopping people from leaving. Yeah, it seems a little more Freemasony.
Yeah.
And if their time magic works, then I have concerns. But I loved after that they were like, she's gone? All right, let's play cards. I was like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I thought this was.
Yeah, I think everyone in that room knew they were playing dress up except for Peggy Sue. And she thought it might send her back to the future.
As someone who is in a fancy secret organization, it's fun to dress up sometimes and say some stuff in Latin. Who doesn't want to do that? It's a blast. It makes you feel all secret and important.
And I think it's just important that this movie taught us an important lesson, which is if your partner cheats on you, go back in time and fuck him in high school. And then cheat on him in high school. Yeah.
That'll solve everything. That's the ultimate revenge.
I did sort of hate that there is no like change in his personality. Like
Zero.
He still cheated on her and just like they end up back together at the end because he was like, oh no, I guess after fucking this much younger woman, I got sick of it. So I'm going to take my wife back. Like that's the end of the movie in this movie.
Don't love.
Didn't love it.
So like, I hated that for her,
Yeah.
but I loved that for me because it was very funny.
Yes.
I like to imagine that after this, she does get the divorce, becomes a romance novelist, and then goes off into the jungle.
Hello, Romancing the Stone
yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
We still have to watch the second one of those. There's two of those.
Jewel of the Nile.
Jewel of the Nile.
Which was on TV more, but
But in my heart, less.
yeah.
Yeah.
I did think it was crazy how many people in this movie are full on famous now, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've got Nick Cage, Helen Hunt, obviously. I mean, who else? Oh,
Jim Carrey.
fucking Jim Carrey's in this movie.
Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, everybody. Well, Kathleen Turner was famous at the time, but yeah.
Kevin J. O'Connor in his most attractive role ever.
I know. I was like, hey, Benny, how you doing?
Hey.
Father Time hates that man.
He needs to go back in time and bang his high school sweetheart.
There you go.
Said it
there
right.
you go. I think it's a combination of, I think he was very young because this has to be one of his first movies. And I think they styled him very specifically, and that's kind of how it worked out.
Perhaps.
Or Father Time was cruel. You know, either way.
Yeah, I think Father Time may have just been cruel, and that's okay.
Hey, we love him as Benny and in Deep Rising. And
Oh, I forgot he was in Deep Rising.
Yeah.
he's such a great sneaky villain, right?
yeah.
Like, he's so great as the guy who betrays you.
I know, but I kind of liked him as this like handsome, mysterious. I was like, man, this guy needed more leading dude roles. You know what I'm saying?
I was here for it. I would have picked him personally. I was in it until the commune, and I was like, oh no. No.
Well, her too. She was like, wait a minute, what? No, we're not doing that.
Huh, what? Mm-mm.
This movie does sort of feel like, to me, a woman goes to a reunion, has a heart attack, and then dies. And during that Jacob's Ladder situation, she goes back and takes credit for all of her friends' successes and then dies at the end of the movie.
That is what happens.
No, I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, that is what happens, though.
But I do think the microchip guy should have been like, thank you for making me gives her a check or whatever at the reunion and be like, thank you for leading me down this path or whatever and teaching me about microchips.
And pantyhose.
It reminded me of my favorite high school reunion movie that doesn't quite fit on this show, but I want to do it so bad because it's one of my favorite movies of all time, which is Romeo and Michelle. Where they lie about making Post-it notes, but they end up with a guy that created microchips and became super rich, and then they do a 3-person dance interlude that is iconic. That's another movie with a ton of famous people in it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite reunion. What's your favorite reunion movie? Because I feel like that's a very specific class of movie.
You got the coming of age ones, and then, they're pretty good, but like Zack and Miri Make a Porno is pretty good.
Oh, I fucking love that movie. That is a reunion movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It starts at the reunion when they run into Brandon Routh, who has become a porn star. And Justin Long.
Justin Long, yeah.
They're a couple, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I think one of the best reunion TV ones is Always Sunny, the 2-parter where they go to their reunion and they have this perception of what they were in high school, and it turns out everyone hated them, and then they hijack the reunion for a live music performance, and you see what they think is happening and then what's really happening, and it's great. That's a great one.
That is a great one.
Todd, any favorite reunion films?
I actually just Googled it because I was like, I don't know of any reunion films that aren't Zack and Miri
the ones that we've just...
Yeah, the ones we just talked about. So, no, I don't have one. I guess Zack and Miri Make a Porno.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I think my problem with this is she has no agenda other than to fuck teens. And good for her, but also not good for them. It's bad.
I mean, she does warn them, I have the mind of an adult in my body. And they're like, what? Yeah, let's hook up.
Also, the way she says it, they'd probably be like, yeah, you're 18. I get you're an adult. Sure, whatever. That's fine. I guess she's not 18 yet because she does say I got pregnant when I was 18 and I turned 18 in 2 days. She was going to get pregnant on her birthday. There was nothing she could do about it. And that to me was very funny.
That was funny. And she was like, at the clock tower.
Save the clock tower.
I love that some movies waste time on do you really love your children? Is your life worth it if you love your family? Not this one. She's like, you know what? Fuck her.
Fuck Helen Hunt.
I do think it's wild that we never meet Scott, her son, quote unquote. And when she goes back in time, she doesn't mention her kids for a full ass hour of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
She never feels sad about it.
She doesn't even have a conversation where it's like, if I don't get pregnant, I don't have my kids. Which is the first conversation you would have.
Right. Does that not bother her?
Yeah.
I feel like that would bother me considerably. I needed the Back to the Future convention of her having a picture of Helen Hunt that just fades the longer she's there.
And she's like, thank God. Yes, disappeared.
No, you're going to go on to be brilliant. No.
I just realized that this movie isn't a time travel movie. We watch someone have a cardiac episode, and then while they're under, they have a dream that we watch, and then we watch them wake up because literally nothing changes from before the time travel to after.
No.
Except for the book. The book changes.
She fucked that dude under the starry night, and he sent that book.
I will posit that she did that before, and Helen Hunt is his kid.
And lied about it at the reunion when she talks about... Okay,
Why
I guess,
would you accept Nick Cage's proposal on a rainy night in a greenhouse if, that wasn't the case?
No. This movie is a better movie if she goes back in time, changes nothing, and just fucks a rando to get back at her husband who cheated on her.
Holy shit, that's all it is. That's all it is. Hell, and honestly, I love that for her.
Okay, but I'm going to posit this, Todd. If she hadn't gone back and cheated on him in high school, would he have cheated after they got married?
He does. He still does.
I agree, Mikey. Him cheating is her fault. Yes.
No.
That is what you just said, you crazy man.
If she cheats first in the time loop.
I know she cheats first in the time
He
loop.
still does, because she gets, well, first of all, they weren't cheating. They were broken up.
Oh, that is a good point, Paige. They didn't
Thank you.
cheat. They were allowed to see other people because Nick Cage wanted
That's true.
that.
That's true.
Yes. When she wakes up, he is like, it's over with Janet, which means he did still cheat with her with Janet.
Yes.
This movie's so weird.
I do also think it's wild that her choices were genius inventor, poet, rock star. And she fucked 2 of those and decided rock star was the one to marry. So kill, screw, or marry, genius,
We can't play
poet,
this game
or rock
anymore.
star.
We can't play this game anymore, Paige.
Yes, I'm
Paige,
ready.
We cannot play kill, marry, fuck, kill. We cannot.
We have alibis, Todd.
Yeah, we're playing it. We're playing. It's a new segment. Welcome to the Mary
Mikey,
Fuck Kill
it's
part.
too dangerous. We can't play it. Check the news.
Look, it's time for me to marry Selma Hayek.
And fuck a fish. You realize that, right?
The prophecy is complete.
Gotta fuck a fish.
Okay.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
So I'm devastated.
Fuck, marry, kill, inventor, poet, rock star.
Or potential rock star, potential poet, potential inventor.
First off, we're marrying the inventor. Because
Of course. Of
he's
course.
objectively the nicest guy to her throughout the
Yes.
whole film out of any other guy that she talks to.
He's the only one that sees her as a person and not an object that they want to fuck.
I would argue the poet does too. He's just a little crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. But he like knows the truth and he's still supportive, you know?
Well, that's why you fuck the poet.
Oh, 100.
Yeah.
You always fuck the poet, Todd. Always.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say kill Nick Cage for reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe you push him aside.
How about shelter Nick Cage away in a very safe place where he can't interfere?
But also, objectively, one, his game is weak in this movie.
His game is weak. His teeth are too strong
And he talks like Pee Wee Herman the entire movie.
the entire time.
Yes, kill rock star, fuck the poet, marry the inventor.
Always.
As a former minor league rock star, that is the correct answer.
That's correct. Yes. Unless you're super into chickens, in which case flip the other
God.
one.
Yeah.
All those actors, okay, we can talk about when we get there, but all the actors acting old at the reunion with like the old makeup on.
I thought it was
So
so
funny.
funny because it is literally like 14-year-old Jim Carrey, like pretending to be 45 years old or whatever, or however, 43? Is that how old you be at your
Yeah.
25 reunion? Fuck.
Yeah. 43.
So,
Yeah.
like, he's supposed to be 43?
No, wait, it's 20.
It's 20th, right?
25th.
No, it's 25th. It's their 25th.
I looked it up. So, it would be people who graduated in 1997 for this year. That would be 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Wild, right?
I'm old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm coming up on my 20th.
Yeah.
It's pretty soon. I'm not jazzed.
I went to my 20th. It was fun.
You know what? Here's the thing. I do want to go because my 10th was really fun, and I did go to the 10th.
I had a lot of fun at my 10-year reunion for sure.
Yeah. My favorite though was that they were like we couldn't have our 15th because it happened during COVID. And so somebody messaged me to be like, hey, we're not doing it 15 because of COVID. They're like, but we're going to do a 20th and we're going to try and do a multi-day thing so people can bring their kids. And I was like, you lost me at children.
Yeah.
I was like, can I bring my cat?
What if it's around Halloween and I'm pretending to be Ridley?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, this is my emotional support.
You mean Ripley, not Ridley? Ridley Scott made the movie.
Believe it
Ripley's
or
the
not,
final girl.
Todd.
There you
Oh, did I
go.
say Ridley?
Uh-huh.
Fuck. Ripley. Sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, you did. But understandable mistake. He made the film.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of bonkers films that we should go through scene by scene, do you guys want to talk about Peggy Sue Got Married?
Sure.
Let's do it.
100%.
We open on credits. She fucks some teens. End of movie.
And that's the movie.
So do you think He Who Remains started his own loop? Anyway, okay, so we open on a crazy appliances
A
commercial.
racist appliance commercial?
Yeah, what were the fortune
Okay.
cookies for?
So they're the deals. He opens them and then speaks them in a Chinese accent, and that's our introduction to Nicolas Cage in this film.
I missed that. I was too busy being like, is he being Elvis right now? Because he's in like an Elvis jumpsuit.
Oh, the commercial and movie is batshit insane, but it opens with him using his crazy ass accent he's using for this film anyway,
Yeah.
but also putting an Asian racist twang on it.
Jesus Christ.
It's wild. And this is the man she married, goes back in time.
And falls back into love with.
Exactly. Mikey, what?
She was crazy enough to marry him twice. I don't know how they fall back in love. He's insufferable as a child.
I'm gonna tell you this, future wife out there. If you traveled back in time to like fall in love with my high school version, you're in for a treat because he's a fucking mess.
Dude, me before like 4 years ago or 3 years ago was a fucking mess. Therapy's been great for me.
But if I went back in time into my high school consciousness, I'd be fucking rich.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
you would, Mikey. Because you'd be like, all right, amazingly, Bitcoin for like 6 years is a really good investment.
No, they'd be like, there's Michael Randolph, the man who stopped a terrorist attack on 9/11.
No, we would be saying, there goes Michael Randolph, the man who just got out of a psych eval for prophesizing 9/11.
The man who kicked a guy on a plane?
Back then, I could be like, I found it on the deep web. And they'd be like, oh, shit, we don't know anything about that yet.
I don't think they'd listen to you, Mikey. No offense. I don't think they'd give a shit what some high schooler has to say, or maybe even younger than that, has to say about a possible terrorist attack.
Well, I know how that all works, right? So if you do an anonymous like tip on the tip line,
Right.
which the FBI still had a tip line back then.
You actually did go to Quantico and take training. So you're
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I know how the threat assessment centers work across the they have well, I'm not gonna say where they have like centers that analyze all the tips and like distribute it out to people to investigate. But I don't know the setup before 9/11.
Counterpoint. They knew and they still let it happen because Dick Cheney's evil.
That's a good time travel movie.
No. I'm saying that's what happened in real life.
You just time travel back in time and watch Mark Wahlberg punch Dick Cheney in the face.
Oh, I would pay money.
I mean, he did say he could stop 9/11, Paige.
Like, what if you travel back in time to like stop something? Like 1163 or whatever, the Stephen King one, the Kennedy one.
Yes.
That would be cool. Like you travel back in time to stop something bad from happening, but then you find out like the government was doing it anyway.
Again, real life. The CIA shot Kennedy. I don't have time to get into it right now. It was an accident, but we don't have time. Although, Todd, what would you change history-wise, not your brother-wise, but like history, what would you try to
He
change?
stopped his brother from dying.
No,
yeah.
I know that.
Well,
that's
what-
why
yeah,
I'm
she's
saying
taking
something
that off
else.
the table.
But
Yeah,
like
I
your
know.
second one.
What's your second one?
How would you kill your brother a second time?
I do wonder if 9/11 never happened, would he have died? But actually, he died before 9/11.
I was gonna say, it was like, what is it? What extra piece do I not know?
So maybe the question should be, if my brother had lived, would 9/11 have happened? And maybe that's worth checking out. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know. You don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I would have started a cool, fashionable plus-size fashion line back in the day.
Paige Bryant.
Well, that we had Lane Bryant, but that was the sad thing, is you could only wear mom jeans. Torrid didn't come out till my senior year. So, like, I would have started something back in the day for fat girls to have cool clothes back when no one else was doing it. What's up?
Owned that market and made a shitload of money.
That's damn straight.
Hell yeah. But I mean, honestly, if we all went back to our 15 or 20 year high school reunion or whatever, and then got transported back into our consciousness, and we had those 20 years or 15 years of memories,
Yeah.
I would be a fucking billionaire too.
Try to break up as many future couples as possible in high school.
Invest in Applebee's. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, it peaks real good around 2003.
That's right. That's right.
Five,
That's
but
right.
like that's also the same time we were in high school, so like we'd be a little too late.
Yeah. Boba tea. Invest in boba tea.
No, you invest in Apple. You
Oh, yeah.
invest
Apple was
in
cheap back
You
then.
buy a shitload of Bitcoin when one
Yeah.
Bitcoin was like 80 cents, and then you know when to sell when it's like 25K per Bitcoin.
You'd have to wait for Bitcoin to come out, though. Like, you'd have to stay
would.
and live until Bitcoin came out.
You could literally just buy real estate at 18, be like, oh, this is a $150,000 house. I'll just buy it now.
Well, not where I lived. At this time, like, growing up, it was still crazy expensive in the Bay. And then when the market crashed, it actually went down. So, like, I would have to wait until, like, my second year of college and then buy a house.
But that's best. That's good timing. So you have like 6 years to prepare for the housing crisis
There you go.
to take advantage. And then like you could sleep with whatever high school boy you want to back then.
You know what? I feel like, and controversial opinion,
So you're stuck. Sexually, you're stuck because you can't sleep with adults that you're probably attracted to because you're a child in a child's body.
I hate this premise for a movie.
And you can't do what Peggy Sue does. You got to take the Michael J. Fox version where you just like, I'm out. I'm not in this for that.
Get off of me, Mom.
I feel like if I had to go back, there's only like maybe one person in high school that I'd try and throw it at. Everybody else, I'm like, no, I do better than this as an adult later.
Have a seat right over there, Paige.
I'm also a teenager in this scenario.
But not mentally.
Whatever.
That just means she'll be good at it, Mikey.
Thank you.
But you can do whatever you want on AOL chat. No judgment.
ASL. Please don't lie.
Oh, please don't lie.
40 in
Yeah.
my mind, 18 in my body.
I hate that, Mikey.
Hate it a lot.
Did not
That's
like
this
hearing you say.
movie.
I know. I don't like it. I actually did like the movie, but I don't like that aspect of it.
I feel like I dodged high school bullets. I don't think I missed out by not banging those people.
Oh man, I know a lot of girls from my high school that missed out on a real bad time with me. Just gonna
yeah,
say
I was
that
gonna
right
say,
now.
I was like, I don't think it's gonna
Just
be
know
a
it for
great
fact,
time
Paige.
with any of
so,
them.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Paige, I'm sure you're right.
Right?
Because I was also a high school boy and I was trash.
He's like, I'm going to get that trumpeter back this year. I'm back in time.
Eat a dick, Brig!
I've been moistening my lips this whole time.
Actually, okay, for the record, I did talk shit about Brig. He was just a very egotistical trumpet player at my high school.
Oh yeah, like all trumpet players.
Yeah. That's like a trumpet player thing. I actually liked him. He was a good guy.
Oh, he's like the scream of trumpet players?
Yeah, my high school girlfriend and I are like friends tangentially. Like we're friends online. We didn't end badly, like she went to
Yeah,
college before me, so like we just broke up. But someone posted like a meme that was like, if you've dated a boy in high school, you may be entitled to compensation. It was like one of those little memes. And then I saw her respond to that being like, oh, been there. So I responded with, I said I'm sorry. And she laughed at it and she was like, no, you're fine now. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna laugh at that. I'm gonna laugh at that and not dig into it and just back away slowly.
If you're stuck back there, do you just like settle in, or like it would be cool to go through like college with the confidence of like and knowing who I am that I have
Yes,
now.
That's what I want. Like, I don't need to fuck people, but I want to go through college with the fat girl confidence I have now. I would have cleaned the fuck up. Just saying.
I could say the same thing about me, Paige, 100%. I also would know like what hairstyles
Yep.
and fashion to avoid so I didn't get absolutely relentlessly roasted by my co-host for the rest of my life.
It looks like you got some stuff to do when you go back in time.
Yeah.
I have an agenda, unlike Peggy Sue.
He's gonna go back in time, Paige, and fall right back in love with those fashion styles. He's like, man, look how long my hair is. I love this leather jacket. Let's go.
I mean, I just want you, like, early 2000s, chubby ass Paige being like, we're all doing crop tops and y'all can go fuck yourselves would be wild energy. And I feel like I'm here for it.
I didn't even know those were real pictures, Todd. I thought you asked AI to come up with your In the Matrix version of yourself.
I mean, the picture you show at the live show next to Pee Wee Herman from Charmed or whatever,
It was for
I
Buffy.
wish that was AI, Mikey.
It was for Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, charmed. It was a charming picture.
Whatever. I haven't seen either.
Think how much time I could save by just being like, Game of Thrones, that show's gonna fucking suck in 7 years. I'm not watching it.
Oh, Mikey, yes. I would have not invested my time into that.
I'm not even gonna talk about this show with anybody.
I'm just not even going to watch it. I'm just going to stick to the books. And he's never going to finish them.
It's gonna end terribly.
I would have been like, hey, that girl you had sort of a misconnection with in college, don't move across the country for her because she is still a nightmare.
Yeah. I'd fuck a bunch of college girls in college. I like barely talked to women in college back then.
I bet you, if you went back with a confidence in like, what you have now,
Who you are? Yeah.
your personality now, you would fucking clean up in college.
Yeah.
I mean, I would too. And honestly, I think it's because
You're right. I should go back to school.
I do think that would be great for your dating life. Yeah. Go get a bachelor's in like physical therapy or whatever, just so you can meet the former like high school cheerleaders that are looking for a husband.
I was on that party bus last night.
Tell me everything.
It was 3 guys.
Hell yeah, it was.
It was 4 guys.
Oh, you on a date with Rachel too?
Right now. There was like 20 women. And they were younger, and like one girl's like, I've never done a slutty Halloween, so this is my slutty Halloween costume. And I was like, that's cool. Good for you. I'm just old, man. I'm just like dressed as fucking Wario, dancing around, and I'm old.
But the question on everyone's mind, Mikey, did Wario pull last night?
No. Wario like pulled a muscle and had to go home early.
All right, you are getting old. Yeah, that's fair.
The party bus was like 2.5 hours. It was like super fun experience. And then they were like, let's go downtown. And I was like,
You all have fun with that.
I went for 10 minutes and I was like, I hate this. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Okay. Rant over. Let's go back in time and fuck our high school
Back
friends.
in time. But first we have to go to the actual reunion.
And take your kid as a date because you're lame.
No, I think that's a great idea. I thought that was very fun. She and Helen Hunt go.
And honestly, like, it sounds like the affair breakup thing is relatively new because they are just getting divorced. They
Yeah.
are not fully divorced. So it feels like that may have just been sprung on her like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so she wants to go, doesn't want to go alone. And Helen Hunt's like, fuck yeah, I'll roll with you, sis.
Yeah.
So she does. I thought it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I was obsessed with her chrome leatherette dress. Here for it.
Fuck, that was dope, right?
Give me one of those.
I mean, it's very like 50s, 60s throwback, which is cool. I mean, that's what they're going for in this movie.
well, it's like 50s, 60s throwback style in an 80s material, which is what
Yeah.
made it even better. I was here
Yeah, it's very cool.
for that.
It was like if Madonna was cosplaying as a 50s like high schooler.
Yes. Love it. But she kind of doesn't want to go because she's like, everybody's going to ask me about Johnny. And sure enough, the second she gets to the reunion, everybody's constantly asking her about Johnny. And the reunion really only serves to introduce us to everybody, right?
Yes.
So we meet Richard, who's now a millionaire because he invented a thing. We meet her friend who is, I guess, still kind of hanging around Jim Carrey, who has medical grade cocaine.
Well, he's a dentist, Paige. Of course he does.
I bet that's just ground up teeth and he's lying to her.
Hell yeah.
That is the best drug to do if you haven't tried it. Grind up your teeth.
Yo.
That's what happens to meth users. They grind up their teeth and snort it.
If you steal them from the Tooth Fairy, they do get you high.
That's why she buys them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the Tooth Fairy's a dealer?
She buys the raw ingredients, cooks it, or, uses her magic, and then, like, cocaine.
Oof.
That's where it comes from.
Damn.
I thought it was Medellin. Okay, cool.
That's her name.
Medellin is the Tooth Fairy's actual first name.
Wait, what?
Because a lot of cocaine comes through Medellin.
Oh, I didn't.
Isn't that where Pablo Escobar was?
Look, we're doing cartel fairy godmother jokes right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Oh, yeah, that was where Pablo Escobar was. You are correct.
yeah. I thought so.
Pablo Escobar was her favorite child because he gave all of his teeth.
Yeah.
Dude had like shark teeth, like 3 rows.
And then he, collected teeth.
Like that girl in, what was it, Incantation, where she had too many fucking teeth? Ooh.
Bitch, you got too many teeth in your
Bitch,
mouth.
you got too many teeth in your mouth.
You need to go see the Tooth Fairy Medellin. She'll set you straight.
Set you
All right,
straight.
but let's get back into this fucking movie.
Anyway, so she has to just constantly explain to everyone that she's divorced or whatever. And they name like a reunion king and queen, and it's the millionaire guy and it's her. But it's very kind of, the millionaire guy's like, all these people are fucking fake. And I was better off after high school, and you were the only person that was nice to me. And as she gets crowned, Nicolas Cage shows up. He's mad he's not the king. But all of it is too much, and she passes out or has a heart attack. We don't know until the end of the film. It's a Jacob's Ladder scenario.
Yeah, I think she dies. Or not dies, but she just passes out and we watch her dream.
No, time travel.
She wakes up in 1960, giving blood on a blood drive where they hand her a Twinkie to bring her sugar back up.
I loved the way high schooler, senior Nicolas Cage is introduced in this scene specifically, because he comes in already being the most Nicolas Cage I've ever seen, like pretending he's Dracula.
Yeah.
Like going across this, blood drive, and then like tries to bite her on the neck, and then steals her Twinkie. Regular high school boyfriend shit.
I feel like this scene does a lot to establish him as the worst immediately.
The worst.
Immediately in this movie.
Are you sure the racist commercial didn't get us there?
Oh, no, here's the thing. We knew he was terrible as an adult, but one would hope that as a kid, maybe he's not terrible yet. But this is like, nah, it started early. He's the worst.
And he's the person she ends up with twice in this movie.
Johnny's got his hand. Johnny's got his bride. I want to suck your blood, and I've got your Twinkie. That's what his voice sounds like the entire movie.
Honestly, and that high, like that pitch. It's like that high pitch. It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
Today's secret word is Ouroboros. Like, that's what it is, because that's also what this movie is. It's just a loop. It's a time loop.
Yeah.
Anyway, So she wakes up and she's like, what the fuck? I'm back in the 1960s. And they take her to the school nurse and then take her home. And this is where I started to cry because she comes home and she's like, oh my God, Mom. And one would assume she's in her 40s. We haven't seen her. So maybe her mom is dead or not. Who knows?
Or she could be suffering from dementia. It does seem like there's something that has disconnected the mother-daughter relationship for Peggy Sue.
Yes.
At least by the way she like greets her mother. And it was super like, it is sad. Kathleen Turner does a great job in this crazy movie.
Yes.
Well, it also would be fun to see your parents young again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, because you don't get to enjoy, I mean, they were basically our age when we were kids. And so, like, yeah, that would be so fun.
My favorite was a couple weeks ago, my sister posted a picture of my parents at about my age, give or take. And Andrea Gazzetta was like, when did Paige take this photo? She was like, it looks like you. And I was like, freaky, right? And she's like, yes, terrifying.
That's what happens.
That's what happens. Anyway, she goes to kind of lay down, but she's greeted by her sister. Now, we never met her sister in the old times, but she hugs her sister as if her sister has died. And she is finally getting to see her. We don't know what happened. Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, this movie doesn't include it, but it kind of, like, suggests it to the point where she's like, I wish I would have spent more time with you. I'm so sad. Like,
yeah,
it's brutal.
I didn't realize you were a gift I wouldn't get to keep.
Ugh,
Such a good line. But
such
also
a
a
good
Nick
line.
Cage movie, right?
That was Moonstruck. That Moonstruck is full of good lines.
I
like,
know.
just in general. But I didn't realize it was a gift I wouldn't get to keep. It's just, Cher's got her Oscar. Cher's got her dress.
Cher's got her Grammy and Cher's got her Oscar. She's got everything.
She got everything.
Yeah.
We cut to them watching Dion and the Belmonts on TV. Now, Dion and the Belmonts will be a huge thing in this movie. And very familiar. We listened to Dion and the Belmonts in my house growing up. Either of you?
Mm-mm.
I didn't think so.
I mean, I recognize the songs,
Okay.
but I don't think I ever recognized them as Dion and the Belmonts until later in life. Like when I was getting more into like music.
Yeah.
Like in college. Like when I was getting to like all kinds of music, trying to just consume as much as I could.
Yeah, I'm a big Dion and the I'm a big Dion fan. Dion and the Belmonts is cool, but his solo work is when he does like Run Around Sue, like that's the business or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like watching this and I was like, I don't know if Mikey and Todd are going to know who they are. And I went to Google Dion and the Belmonts and found their real names. And I was like, oh, these are the most Italian names I've ever read. Like, I understand why we listen to this in my house now. One guy's last name is Mastrangelo.
Yo, have you ever had a nice Mastrangelo soup though, Paige? Mwah.
Oh yeah, with the little beans.
Oh, you should try my mother's Mastrangelo. Yeah. Don't compare. Don't compare. Anyway, yeah, a lot of Dion and the Belmonts. It becomes kind of a through line. And it's implied later on that, like, that's the kind of band that Nick Cage wants to have. And he just doesn't realize that that type of music is about to go violently out of style in less than 5 years.
Well, yeah, because the Beatles, and she tries to write him a Beatles song, and he destroys it.
I changed the yeah yeahs to the ooh oohs, and I was like, wow, that really does ruin that song.
She loves you, ooh, ooh, ooh. Because it sounds like you're saying ooh, like it's gross,
It's,
you know?
it's real gross.
So dumb.
real
But then
gross.
the guy who wrote yesterday was like, hey, do you guys remember that little tiny bit in Peggy Sue Got
Peggy
Married?
Sue Got Married?
I'm going to write a whole damn movie about that and make it a hit.
I still have not seen that movie.
I refuse, honestly.
That makes sense because you don't like the Beatles. That's fine.
I probably like every Beatles song that would be in that movie.
Probably, yeah.
I just don't want to go to the theater with people who love the Beatles. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like people pick their... I love various Beatles songs, but that doesn't mean I can't look at others and be like, guys, what were we doing here? Like, I know we were fighting and on tons of drugs, but like, come on. But Yesterday is one of those songs that I think is beautiful no matter what. Like, there are
Same.
some Beatles songs that are truly beautiful.
yeah, Beatles early stuff slaps.
That Beatles early stuff is my favorite stuff, honestly. I'm a Beatles person early up through Rubber Soul. I think Rubber Soul is one of their best albums.
Yeah.
White Album, I pick and choose.
Yeah.
You know, after that point, I'm like, some stuff, not all stuff. Anyway, but yeah, that movie is basically this movie. So,
Well, that movie is basically that one part of this movie. I don't think that writer really ripped it off, for the record.
oh, no. Yeah, of course. Well, this is every time. Anyway.
Yeah. Everything derives from somewhere.
Yeah. Their mom comes through and tells them that they're having shit on a shingle for dinner. And I was like, oh,
Have you ever had shit on a shingle, guys?
It's so fucking good.
Jake loves it because he grew up eating it. I can't.
It is not my favorite, but I have had it before. It's not my fave though.
And it's a big World War II vets thing. They
Yes.
had a lot over. Yeah, so
The person who made it for me was a World War II vet. The last time I had it, I think I was literally 11 years old at my friend Kevin's house, and his granddad was like old enough to have to live with his daughter,
Yeah.
Kevin's mom, and he told us like he was in Bastogne. He was like telling us like these horror stories
gee. Oh,
as he
fuck.
was making a shit on a shingle. It is a formative memory. I do not care for it.
no, both my grandparents would cook them. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Jake, he had his mom obviously lived with his grandparents as well, but his grandparents kind of were there while he was growing up the whole time, and they used to make shit on a shingle all the time. And so he's like, every once in a while, you get kind of like a weird craving for it, and I'm like,
That's what Kevin's granddad said.
Yeah.
He was like, I recognize that it's not good, but it's like, it was a formative meal for me, so I like to return to it sometimes. I was like, okay.
So my version of this in our home, because I obviously cook, right? I am a good cook, known for being so, and I love Kraft mac and cheese, just like out of the box.
Yeah.
I love that you started off this with like, what is conservatively a huge brag on yourself, and then
Thank you.
brought in like about how you're a great cook, and having experienced it, you're right. But
Yeah.
and then you mentioned like Kraft mac and cheese, which I think is the opposite of what I just thought that was a very fun dichotomy.
But yeah, that's what I mean. I love Kraft mac and cheese. It is a comfort food for me. I will eat it at any opportunity. I fucking love Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah.
And Jake multiple times has been like, you make amazing mac and cheese. Why? And I'm like, because sometimes I don't want to do all of it. And I consider this a different food, even though it's not a different food.
It is a different flavor though, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I fucking love me some Kraft mac and cheese.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like nostalgia meals are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll occasionally go back and have like ramen, because that's like all I could afford to eat in school.
Or cook stuff that your parents cooked for you a lot, and like warm and fuzzy memories.
Yeah. That's why we make weenie stew all the time.
Mhm.
We love weenie stew. It's stew with hot dogs.
Yeah, I broke down the code page. My weenie stew.
I broil artichokes a lot and dip the leaves in butter and like scrape them and
Oh,
do the
yeah.
hearts and whatever. Because even before my parents divorced, every Saturday night, one weekend night, they would grill steaks and we'd do artichokes as like appetizer. And it was like the family bonding time.
That's awesome, man.
And then I would watch Mystery Science Theater 3000
Oh,
at
yeah.
9.
Nice. I get it. That's awesome.
It's surprising to me because I didn't realize artichokes were that popular at that time in places that didn't grow them.
that was a thing in the South.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because we did it here in Nashville too.
Yeah, we would broil them and scrape them. I still do it. I love it, man. I can cook a mean artichoke.
Well, that's my man catcher dip is garlic artichoke dip
That would work.
in a sourdough bread bowl that you then bake.
Now I really get why it's called that. Yeah, that would work.
I love all things artichoke.
Yeah.
I could probably go vegetarian if I like had access to unlimited artichokes.
You hear that, ladies? Mikey's not afraid to artichoke. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, but I can still use butter, right?
Well, yeah, if you're
Sure.
vegetarian, not vegan. Yeah, because if you're
Yeah, no.
vegan, you couldn't use butter.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna fart cold or whatever.
God damn it. We're never going to get through this fucking movie.
We gotta
I
go.
swear.
It's been a weird morning. I'm so sorry.
Big vegan's been trying to use this new talking point about carbon footprints. Like they have a smaller carbon footprint or whatever.
Does being vegan make your feet small?
Yeah, or their farts smaller. I don't understand.
Anyway, we gotta move on because we've been recording an hour. We're 2 scenes into this movie. Anyway, her dad shows up in a new car.
Which I think it must have been a car that was like notoriously shitty in the 60s or whatever.
I
but,
missed the reference. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like I didn't get it. It's not a car brand I've ever heard of though.
Right.
So it probably was, that's the joke of it, right?
Well, it's kind of like in Wedding Singer when he shows up in a DeLorean and he's just like, I got it brand new off the lot.
Yes.
Okay, but like DeLoreans slap.
No,
like
they
I looked
do,
up how much
man.
DeLoreans are today.
They're hard to find because there's a limited amount of them because cocaine.
They make some new ones, but there's a limited every year they make.
Yeah.
And they're $55,000.
Oh, that's way
That's
more
it?
affordable than I thought. Why'd you buy a Bronco? You should have bought a fucking DeLorean.
Yeah, well, actually, I know for a fact because I did the rude thing when Mikey drove over here, and when I sat in his car, I was like, "How much was this?" Because it's nice. I love that car, but I know for a fact it's less than that.
Okay, but like a DeLorean though.
I would have gone DeLorean, right? But I mean, Mikey's a bigger guy. He needs more space. I get it.
Well, first off, I don't want to look like the Juggernaut going down the street. But also, if you're going DeLorean, that's just the base cost. Like
you want to trick it out. You want the flux capacitor.
100%. You need the Mr. Fusion on the back. You need all of the Back to the Future Part 2.
You want like a tricked out DeLorean. See, I want an 80s base model DeLorean as like a bit. Just like no, suicide doors always.
Buy an out of time license plate.
Yeah.
Also, the suicide doors. I would hit so many things.
Well, that's okay. So there are some Teslas that have them, and it's really rough if you drive Uber in a Tesla like that, because sometimes you can't pull up too close to the curb if the curb's too high, because you can't open the door. It's hilarious. I've seen so like. Every once in a while, you just see someone on the side of the road, like trying to chance it and open the door and not hit tree branches and stuff. And I'm like, this is hysterical. It should have died with the 80s.
Same with Elon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So she is like, she's drinking and she's just like, I'm going to go discover the Beatles. Fuck it. I'm back in time. I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Fuck all of it.
I do love that she is currently a 17-year-old girl drinking like her dad's scotch.
Yeah.
It is like wildly inappropriate, which is funny, but loved it.
Well, and I love that he's like, have you been drinking? She's like, I had a rough day.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just like, imagine if your teenager was like, it's been a rough one. I just needed to tie one on.
I was your age this morning, Dad. Don't worry about it.
But and they ask her, they're like, did you and Charlie have a fight? And she's like, yeah, about house payments. Anyway, he comes to pick her up to go to school the next day. We've cut to the next day. And he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about a lot of like when I asked if we could see other people, please don't start crying again. And so you're like, oh, he's full trash already.
I mean, he tried to break up with her a week ago and it didn't hold, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Which also, if you think about what happens later in this movie, when she tries to have sex with him and he turns her down and then he gets mad at her because a week before he tried. And then, so like on the same day is when he brought up seeing other people.
Right.
Ugh.
So like she wouldn't have sex with him. He was like, we should see other people. And she cried. So they tabled the conversation until today.
Right.
And after doing all that like hard work that Johnny has done, I don't even know his name in this character or in this movie, but
Charlie.
Whatever. Charlie, all that manipulation that Charlie has done up to this point is not paying off anymore because she is now the 43-year-old version of herself.
Oh, yeah.
I love
so
it.
So she's like, yeah, we should totally see other people. And he's like, wait, what is happening?
I've been meaning to fuck that poet over there.
I love how it backfires so spectacularly for him because he is the worst.
Were you like that in high school? 'Cause I was not.
No, I wasn't a 43-year-old lady in high school.
I was like, if you accidentally graced my private part, I was like, I'm in love with you until the end of time.
Oh.
Well, I feel like oddly enough, I've met more people like this now than back then, where I have met so many dudes that are like, we should see other people, and you're like, okay, and they're like, I didn't mean you. Like, I meant I should see other people, and you
Paige,
should stick around.
Both of the dudes she fucks in this movie say that to her. What the poet is like, let's move to Utah because polygamy's legal,
Right.
which, spoiler alert, it's not and wasn't at the time because whatever.
Yeah.
But it's definitely practiced at this time there for sure.
Well, I have some concerns about that situation in general because it would seem that the woman that they're going to move to the commune to is older but has been in contact with him, a younger person. I feel like that's a grooming scenario that's bad in general.
Yeah, he's a poet. Yeah.
Oh,
Paige.
hey, we like poets. I think I don't know if he would be mad with her seeing other people, but I do love that he says we should.
Oh, the poet?
Yeah, he's like, we should merge.
Yeah, maybe he's just like polyamorous.
Yeah.
Sure. That could be.
We should merge together at least one more time.
Yes, I thought that shit was so funny. Which, like, I've been a teenage boy. Like, I get it. Like, you're definitely going to be like, but we could do it one last time,
Right?
Yeah, definitely don't. I don't do that as an adult.
Much.
Hey.
That laugh was, like, very telling, and I loved it. But yeah. But Nicolas Cage and the poet are both like, I want to see other people, but I don't want you to see other people necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, the poet was like, I want you to raise chickens for me while I write.
Yeah, you two raise chickens while I write.
Literally, that is what he said. He described literally the worst life And he's like confused. She didn't want to take it.
It's a 60s commune. It's like, it's a
No, it's you. He said like we're gonna go to Utah where polygamy is
No,
legal.
I know, but what he is suggesting is a commune.
Yeah.
The second someone says commune, fucking run. Like,
To that commune, it's
No.
gonna be great.
because here's what happened. I can predict what happened to him from 1960 to 1985 when he dedicates that book to her. He spent some time on the commune and was like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then went to college, right? Where he then got a job as a professor giving LSD to his students.
That checks out.
And is probably still a professor and published author with a fair amount of money and an old Victorian house in San Francisco. Like, that's who he is. He turns out okay, but the commune years, you don't want to be there for those. You want to be the smart grad student that he meets when he's a professor that he then marries and they start some sort of foundation together for underprivileged writers. Like, that's what happens.
You don't settle down with the commune. You commutrist. I'm a commutrist.
I mean, I get the joke. I just don't know that I love it.
The joke was supposed to be shared by all of us, and you were supposed to improve it.
Shared equally, Mikey, by all of us.
Our labor and gifts.
Equitable division
Yeah.
of the jokes. Seize the means of joke production.
Yeah.
Joke duction.
Fucking capitalist.
Anyway, she goes to school. She's supposed to take a test. She didn't study for it, obviously, because she time traveled. And she just doodles, and the guy's like, what is this? And she's like, oh, I'm never going to use algebra. And I can tell you that for a fact from the future. And I'm just like, same bitch. Yes.
I mean, okay. So much of what you learn in high school, you're not using in the future. Like, that is just a part of high school and even college to some extent. You're learning how to learn things. You're not learning to, like, remember when Waterloo happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're learning the practice of how to learn.
You'd be surprised how much the like history shit I had to learn comes in handy day to day, given my
Well, okay, but that's because you're...
my thing.
Yeah.
But that and economics, I had a really good economics teacher.
All right.
You know, that's like the one that I'm like, that guy, now, like, okay, I kind of understand. But yeah, history and economics, and sometimes French, but not so much the math, except for geometry. I use geometry all the time. And that's the one math I was good at.
That's the one math I was good at, Paige.
I feel like I should have taken stats. I would have fucking crushed stats, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I crushed stats. Research stats is the only A I made in math from 9th grade on.
Yeah, geometry is the only A I made in math from 9th grade on.
Anyway, so there's now strange rumors around the school that she is not with John or not with Charlie. And then she goes to talk to Richard. And Richard's like, okay, fine. But like, I don't fucking know you. We're not friends. So like, it'll be after Rocket class or whatever. Rocket club meeting.
I think it was Racket Club. I don't think it was Rocket Club.
I thought I was
Although,
picturing him.
Paige, yeah, he might be like a young James Parsons. I don't know. Or Jack
Parsons. I was like,
Yeah,
ooh,
so, like,
if he's young Jack Parsons.
Get into the sex magic, get out before the explosion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. We can make an elemental baby. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the groceries, prep work, and the cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door with over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more. Plus, over 55 weekly add-ons. You'll have tons of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Factor now offers like a load of snacks. In fact, we just got some of these like smoothies that were really great. They have a banana chocolate smoothie that like I drank way too much of. It was so good. And even better than that, when things get hectic, Factor's like flexible. So you can change up your order every week with plans from like 4 to like 18 meals per week. So you can like have a bunch of meals or just a few meals depending upon like how many times you need meals that week, right? So it's great. So head to factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 and use code romancingthepod50 to get 50% off. That's code romancingthepod50 at factormeals.com/romancingthepod50 to get 50% off.
So she meets up with him and he's like, I'm writing a book. And she's like, yeah, I know. By the way, I'm from the future. And he's like, time is kind of like a burrito. And I was like, oh. And this is when I paused the movie to go eat the burrito that I had in the fridge. So, I did that. But she basically is like, here's what your grandfather's blind. You're going to create a device that helps him read.
Well, it reads books to blind people.
Reads books to blind people, aka Alexa. And so he's like, okay, so you're from the future. Like, what are you doing? And she's just like, I don't know. I got to fix something. But here's a list of inventions you should try to invent to make a bunch of money. Which wouldn't that ruin the invention? Because what if it was supposed to be invented by somebody else and he doesn't do it as well?
Well, in Mikey's reading of this movie, she goes back because he did invent those things. So she had to give him those ideas to invent.
She planted the ideas,
so that he would have invented those things for her to go back in time. It's a whole big loop. Like she's required to do that.
But
weird.
He didn't invent all those things.
I think in her timeline he did.
No. Even in the original timeline, he didn't. He had written a book and he had invented a microchip. It doesn't say what kind.
Fair enough.
He didn't invent like Walkmans or whatever.
You mean Walkamans?
Walkamans and pantyhose.
What is that? A Pac-Man
waka. It's a Walkman that just plays Pac-Man noises.
Waka. It's a step counter that just makes the waka waka noise as you walk or run outside.
Take my fucking money.
Are you guys doing the Miss Pac-Man 5K?
Waka waka. And then when you throw up, it's like.
And they just throw fruit at you as you do it. I liked that she asked about pantyhose because that's one that you wouldn't normally think of, but does revolutionize not just the women's apparel industry, but also a lot of space and scientific industries, because a lot of the things that were originally created for high power synthetic metals or synthetic fabrics used in defense, space travel, or whatever, end up in women's apparel. And so it's kind of they don't go into it in this movie, but it's also why in Mad Men, one of Peggy's first accounts is pantyhose. So I just love that that's around this time and people don't realize how influential those kinds of materials are going to be. But anyway.
I mean, this is at a time where you could be like, hey man, we should invest in plastic. Like that, because that was such a new thing, right?
Yes, because in The Graduate in 1964, he gives him that, I believe it's 64.
Either way, I mean, it's just plastic is now such a ubiquitous part of our life. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
1967 in The Graduate, he tells him to invest in plastics. They could have invested in the Wonder Bra. They could have made the Wonder Bra, padded underwire bra of today that did not exist at the time. There's so many things they could have invented. Anyway, so she goes home and her mom is making Rice Krispie squares. Very fun. And her mom, I do love that her mom is like, I'm voting for the Democrats, which is Kennedy, basically. But she, at this point, her grandma calls and she gets very emotionally affected when talking to her grandma on the phone.
Yeah.
I think because I'm sure her grandma is dead in present day.
Oh, yeah.
And so, she's like, I haven't had the chance to talk to them in years. And this will set up her going to talk to them again later. But this is where her mom is just like, is Charlie pressuring you? Do you know what a penis is? Stay away from it. And I'm like, decent advice. Anyway, Charlie shows up to take her to a party, which I guess the Rice Krispie treats were for. Do you guys want to know some weird Rice Krispie treats facts?
Yes.
Okay.
Crackle went to jail in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well,
did you guys know that?
He had a really big crackle problem.
Yeah. Because of mandatory minimums, his name alone got him twice the length of sentence.
I got it.
It didn't happen to the elf named Cocainal. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I got you. He only got 4 days.
You know what I'm saying?
So let's talk about Rice Krispie treats for a second.
Let's talk about Krispie treats.
Let's talk about you and me. This is my personal seasonal nerdery because this is the time of year I make a lot of candy, and people don't think of Rice Krispie treats as candy, but you actually have to go through a candy process to make them. So currently, most people make Rice Krispie treats with jet puffed marshmallows, which were introduced in 1958, 2 years before this time period in the movie.
Yeah, so this would have been a brand new treat at the time.
Except it wasn't. It wasn't because before that, people actually used to make Rice Krispie treats with corn syrup or sugar and basically create a kind of candy amalgam, which is basically marshmallows are basically just sugar. They're largely sugar and gelatin.
Yeah.
So sugar and gelatin were things that people had, right? Because Jell-O and everything exists. So they would use sugar and gelatin just to do it, to coagulate it, and then mix the Rice Krispies in and press them into a pan.
Sure.
So jet puffed marshmallows are just the quicker way to do it. So around this time, there's also a thing called fantasy fudge that comes out around the same time that also uses marshmallows and chocolate, but the marshmallows are just a shorthand to avoid the candy making process and to more quickly create fudge. But this is a really unique point in time in like candy making because of marshmallows, because of the introduction. It was a more easy way for everyday cooks who maybe weren't the best cooks to successfully make candy style products. And what predates Rice Krispie treats at the time are something called scotcheroos, which I made last Christmas, but it's basically you make a butterscotch, but then add the Rice Krispie treats and then have chocolate on top.
Oh, I would.
Because you didn't use marshmallows at the time, and you usually add peanut butter too, so it's like a nutty, chocolatey.
Shit, that's the last flavor I wanted. Damn it. That sounds so good. I actually don't love Rice Krispie treats, but I think I'd love that.
I love them with other cereals. Like, I find them to be a very, like...
complementary.
Yeah, I think you can use the process to do all kinds of things, and I do love that. But this time of year, I nerd out on candy, and so that's one of my personal nerderies. You're welcome. Thank you for coming to Paige's Cookware Corner. Anyway, so her dad sits Charlie down to be like, "Are you fucking my daughter?" But like not in as many words. He's like, "There's a circle of trust." Anyway, she doesn't want to go to the party, but she agrees to because her mom is like, "Hey, this is the best time of your life. Like, go have fun. Like, you're a teenager. We're not really supervising you. So like, enjoy that, I guess. Have fun."
I thought it was pretty crazy that she said this is the best time in your life. Like, high school was definitely not the best time in my life.
No. In fact, I will rank it as not a top 10 moment for me.
No.
Same.
No.
The only time that was worse than high school was middle school.
I think for me, there was a time in my like early to mid 20s that was worse than high school. But I would say now is probably the best time.
Same.
Right?
Ugh.
Now kind of rocks most of the time. I finally have cool clothes that fits. I have disposable income. I have a house. I have a hot husband. I can cook things whenever I want. And like, don't get me wrong, the world is dying and that sucks. But for me right now,
Great.
pretty okay.
Yeah, same.
Most of my stuff's pretty good. I'm trying to rebalance my life, but like, you know, I dove into work. I'm in therapy to try to like not put everything into work.
There you go. Good.
I have no personal life because maybe I have not left space for it.
Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyway, they get to the party, and I do love that one of the other girls at the party is like, "We're planning our wedding, and we've got ushers and bridesmaids, and I think our colors are pink and green." I was like, my colors were pink and green.
It's not a competition, Paige.
No, but I did get married in a wedding venue that was built basically at this time.
Of course.
Like in the early 60s. So
You're
pink and
obsessed
green.
with this time period.
What's up? I love this time period. It's so great.
I know.
I mean, it's not great. It's not great for women or people of color, but crazy food.
But the styles are cool.
The styles are
like
cool.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, like
I could give a TED talk on form and function from this time period, but we don't have time.
I also don't have a big circular red carpet, so we can't do that.
Can't do it. But we do get to see Nicolas Cage and his friends and their band sing, and they clearly are trying to be Dion and the Belmonts. Like, that's what they're trying to be.
Yeah.
What broke my heart about that scene, though, is right as they get introduced, the guy says they've been working on this for 4 weeks in this guy's garage, and they come out and don't nail it. I was like, guys, what were you doing for the past 4 weeks in the garage? Like, this performance could have taken an hour to to learn.
Well, especially because it's a song that they know.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, working out the harmonies with different people pick it up faster than others. I could have seen a week. I could have seen them working on it for a week.
Sure.
4 weeks. That's a lot of time.
I'm just saying that Nicolas Cage should not have been as shocked when the music producer guy turns him down.
I do think his performance is better there.
It is.
With that
It is.
band, hey, you know what? So many people want to be famous, want to be artists, and sometimes it's not talent or hard work or anything. Sometimes it is luck, and it is just what happens. It doesn't happen for everybody, and it's a tough reality, but
Yeah.
But also, like, they had to make those musical note button downs.
Love it.
And their like outfits, so that could have taken a while.
So you think they were in the garage, like them personally making their outfits and everything?
100%.
Like I
Yes.
love that reading of it. I love it so much.
100, or their moms did.
Yeah.
Can I spoil a future movie?
Sure.
This is also a plot point in Grease too, where they have a band that is not better, by the way. Like, it's maybe a little better.
How could it be, Paige?
And it is played for mockery. And I do kind of love it because the song is crazy. Anyway, but they're okay. It's fun for the people there, which I think is one of those things where, like,
Yeah, they enjoy it.
yeah, like when somebody in high school has a band that's like halfway good, that's fun.
Oh, Paige, I played a shitload of high school like parties and stuff when I was in high school because I had a band.
Yeah.
And we were really trash. Like, we were bad. So,
Yeah.
like, he's doing way better than I was at the time, is all I'm saying.
Absolutely. So she seems to fall back in love with him that night, which I don't understand.
Oh, I don't understand either.
But I also was never a date a band guy, so maybe it's just something that's not for me.
First off, Paige, as a former band guy, that is excellent advice.
Thank you.
But I don't understand her motivation for almost anything in this movie.
Yeah.
From the point she goes back in time to the point she goes out of that, high school stage, right?
Right.
I don't understand why she's doing anything really.
Yeah, no idea. But they end up making out. They get in a car. He goes to drive her home, and they're making out in the car, and she's like, let's fuck. And he's like, what?
Whoa!
He literally says, you mean like intercourse?
Intercourse?
This is how I would have reacted in high school. I'd be like, oh my God.
Okay.
Eject.
In my mind, the first time she talks to the nerd, who she makes a billionaire over the course of this movie.
Sure.
In my mind, I was like, Kathleen Turner talking to this guy, he would be so hard, just like talking, like the most popular girl in school, coming and like giving you attention on that level. He would be so turned on by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nicolas Cage is definitely filling his pants, Mikey, for
Yeah,
sure.
with his thrill hammer.
You mean his whang?
Yeah.
He is making all the absolutely incorrect but somehow perfect choices in every scene.
Now, I'm not some Romeo. I had to go through a lot of this to get where I am today, Like the first girl who like grazed it, I was like, oh my God, what are you doing?
Kathleen Turner, how dare you?
Are you touching my penis?
My whang.
But this is the problem going back in time with like 45-year-old knowledge.
Well, but what I did not love is that he then is like, get out. You really know how to spoil the mood. Like, instead of having a conversation about it, he's just like, you ruined it.
Also, he wanted to have sex a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy that this is how this would have played out.
No, I think he's manipulating her.
Because if she was like, hey, do you want to have sex? Boom, they'd be having sex.
Right.
Nicolas Cage is just doing this because he's like a bad dude.
Yeah.
And he wants to like hold one over her head or whatever.
Absolutely. Which is why they shouldn't end up together.
I know. He has not changed at all by the end of this movie.
Not even a little bit.
But also, like, what would the message be if you went back in time and changed your current partner to be better?
That's why I wanted her to end up with somebody else.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Like, here's 4 things I don't like about you. I'm going to go traumatize your childhood to change them.
Here's what I'll say. Here's the one place where I would think it works. Have you both seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Uh-huh.
No.
Where it's not necessarily a case of the partner not being great as much as someone losing perspective on the things that make their partner great. And so at one point in one of the many, many lives, he says to her, like, and it's a life where they're famous movie stars, because that always has to happen in time travel stuff right now, apparently. He turns to her and just says, in another life, I would have been perfectly happy just doing laundry and taxes with you. And it's this moment of perspective of it didn't matter what they were doing. They had each other's back. They're a team. And that's what's the most important for them. And so, like, that's a version of it that I could see, like, you end up with the same person because it gives you new perspective on who they were. But I feel like this movie goes out of its way to be like, Nicolas Cage is a monster.
I know.
The entire movie.
They never convinced me that he's not a total shitbird. Like,
No.
and they end up together. So at the end of this movie, I'm like, oh, this is like maybe the saddest ending.
Yeah, it's not good. But so she leaves after he drives away, and she's walking past a place called the Donut Hole, which seems to be donuts and coffee.
Yeah. And it's like night. So she's like, hell yeah. coffee sounds great.
Well, because she's a grown up,
Yeah.
and she probably hasn't had coffee in like 2 days. Like when she was drinking coffee, I was like, oh right, grown up. Like, I was like, she probably needs this.
When she pours the bourbon after the long day, it is like,
Yeah.
I had a hard day. I was like,
At the very beginning,
I
yeah.
had a hard day. But so she grabs coffee and a donut and sits down with him and is like,
the poet.
hey, I actually really liked with the poet. I liked what you said about Hemingway. And he has, I think, a really, I like that he has a point of view and you kind of see where he's very much aligned with the literature of the day.
Yeah.
Where you're like, aha, you're one of those. But I think what she wants out of him is someone who thinks through things. Like, she sees Nicolas Cage as being very surface and him being very deep. You know, it's not perfect, but it's her kind of on the backswing from what Nicolas Cage is.
Yeah, I can see that because it is like hyper the opposite of Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
yeah, when I hear high school boys, I think people who think through things.
Exactly.
Never. Never. But also, this is about to be the counterculture movement, which he clearly will be involved in. So, like, you know, maybe he's got a little more going on upstairs than most.
For sure he does.
Anyway, we do see one of Peggy Sue's friend couples making out while driving, which you can't really do in cars now because you've got the console in the middle. But the cars back then, it was like,
Yeah, you didn't even need seatbelts or whatever.
yeah, no seatbelts, just giant bench where you can make out and drive at the same time.
Well, back then I only dated giant benches.
Oh my God.
I like to picture that Mikey was just humping benches.
Did you? I sent you that reel of that woman who was turned on by that fence.
I don't remember this at all, but I don't watch every reel you send me because
I know
you
you
send me
don't.
roughly 20 a day. So I have to pick my spots.
I know who I've become. I'm sorry.
I also don't think I saw that reel, but I love you, Mikey.
Yeah, I don't remember this one.
I'll
I
find it.
don't.
I'll find it and send it to y'all again, but then I'll message you and be like, "This is the one."
Okay, thank you.
Because it's like she's just like looking at this fence and she's like, "Yeah, I am turned on by this fence," and it's like a clip from like My Strange Addiction or something. Yeah,
Been there, right, Paige?
I mean, My Strange Addiction is one of the, like, it's a guilty pleasure that even when I like watch it, I'm like, I shouldn't be, TLC is exploiting these people. Anyway, but those making out friends see her and the poet on the bike.
Yeah.
And they're just like, why is she hanging out with that commie beatnik? And I was like, because the beat's hanging out with y'all? Like,
Fascist.
y'all seem boring as shit. Fascists.
I don't know what I would do in the '60s.
I think I would nail it.
I'd be like, guys, we should definitely not do this Vietnam thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. I don't feel like they'd listen to me because in the 60s, they were like, she's a woman. She can't even have her own bank account. But like you, sure. For me, I'm like, what if I did less Jell-O desserts and baked things that people wanted to actually eat? I bet I'd be the 60s Martha Stewart and I could fucking nail it.
I'd be like, so if you get your name drawn, you have to go to war?
Yeah, pretty much. Unless you love Canada.
I think that's how it should be today. I think more people would really have a lot more political discourse about our actions if the draft was still like a thing.
I think it wouldn't apply equally just like last time. I feel like rich people and their kids would not have to experience the problems and poor people would be overwhelmingly sent to die. And so not a fan.
You mean like the way it is now?
Yeah, exactly.
At least now we have an all-volunteer army.
Yeah.
It's just they go to get education incentives or just a job, you know,
Sure.
so it's a little bit different than drafting in.
Yeah. I just don't think that the people who would need to have that discourse would be the people affected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it makes sense why people cared so much because like apathy is a huge thing right now, or like has been for the last, at least since I've been an adult.
I think apathy is dying away.
Well, and I think it's a byproduct of not feeling represented,
Voter turnout would disagree.
depending on which age bracket.
There's never been a presidential election that had more votes than the most recent one.
The last one.
Yeah, but there was still only like a 40% turnout.
I know.
Yeah, but it hasn't ever been better than that necessarily. But also, I feel like a lot of people's patriotism at the time was based on lies.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know what the country was doing. They didn't know what the government was. They didn't know we'd brought Nazi scientists over to experiment on our own soldiers. Like, you know, there's a reason for apathy. It's because representation has not been equitable or honest. And so I think that's why a lot of people don't care and don't trust the government. And you know what? The government has earned all the distrust it gets.
Damn. In 1876, 83% of all voters voted.
So all the white landowners that were men voted? Yeah.
Anyway, so she and the poet drive out to somewhere on the outskirts of town where they can look at the stars and smoke weed and have a real strange conversation that includes the words rat puke.
Yeah.
I do love that she's like, no more rat puke, write something beautiful. And I would hope that he did that at some point. But you know what? Artists gonna experiment.
Yeah. You got to feel out and find your voice, you know?
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. But it is implied heavily that they have sex that night.
Okay, we don't see it. You're right.
Yeah.
I think they did. Like
I think they did too.
They definitely did.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did. There is a continuity error here where he unbuttons her dress and then lays her down, and it was clearly another take and he couldn't get the dress unbuttoned, and so it's buttoned all the way back up again.
Oh, I
and
didn't
he's
notice
like
that.
trying to work his way down.
That's very funny. Yeah.
Yes. But they, even though they are different people, they have what I would say is interesting conversation, and they get down. Good for them.
Yeah.
But we cut to the next day where she goes to talk to Charlie, I think to like maybe formally break up with him and just be like, I don't think it's going to be that guy, but it's definitely not you, like whatever. But instead he just kind of derails it and is like, nothing matters because I love you. And I was like, oh, that's not really.
I still think they are broken up at this point. I mean,
Same.
like,
Oh, yeah.
They had a conversation about seeing other people, and it was agreed that they would see other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because he says in that scene, this is the beginning of the movie again, but like he says, you know, in 5 weeks when we graduate or whatever, let's just break up at that point. And she's like, why wait? Let's do it now. You know?
Yeah.
Which is the right call in that situation. I don't want to be like someone's, well, I guess you're fine for like while I'm here or whatever, but when I'm not here, you know.
Well, and his whole plan was like, I need 3 years to make it in the music industry. And I was like, enjoy those 3 years, man. You're going to be right where you started.
But it would have been easier back then, right?
Not necessarily, no. Especially if you're not in like a hub. But there's also something that happens then that is not as prevalent now is you could probably make a lot more money as a live performance musician back then than you can now without being famous, right?
Yeah.
Like you can get jobs at clubs or whatever, but it still wasn't great money. And to break through into something that would be famous, you still had to get on television or any number of things or sign a record contract that was very likely predatory, and you would see almost none of those residuals. So like, even if he did, he probably wouldn't have seen a ton of that money, and it's unlikely that he would have done it in 3 years. This is why I love the movie That Thing You Do, because it is a great movie about a great band that still doesn't make it.
Yeah.
But you're okay with it at the end. Like, it's still just a good movie. But yeah, I think his 3 years is delusional.
It definitely is.
Yeah, he's in high school.
Yeah. But we cut to her hanging out with the future billionaire, future inventor. And this is where she's like, jogging shoes. Like, those are going to be huge. Like microwave ovens, calculators. And she's telling them all about this. Now, fun fact, they had a version of what would eventually become a microwave oven that's more like a fast pressure toaster oven at the time, but microwaves as we understand them would not come out for another few years. But this is where she stops in on pantyhose, which I'll burn a fun fact here. I'll talk about it more in fun facts, was an alternate plot line that gets cut where she was supposed to invent pantyhose, and we only get the couple scenes left in the movie.
Okay.
Anyway, her friends come over and they're like, what happened with the poet? And she's just like, oh, we boned it down. What? And her friend is like, no, you were supposed to marry Charlie and we all get married and we all live on the same street. And I'm just like, what a childish thing to think
That's
about.
all very true to me though, because it is like that is the time in your life when you'd be like, you can't date the poet because we are supposed to have barbecues for life.
Yeah.
Like that is what she's saying. It's a ridiculous sentence, but she like really means it.
Yeah. Most of my high school friends basically stayed there and do barbecues.
And they probably are super into QAnon as well. Is all I'm saying. You know what I'm
They
saying?
definitely did not like vaccines recently. I tell you that much.
Oh, I had to mute a lot of people.
You don't need vaccines when you're eating spare ribs weekly.
Oh, I mean, I'll eat spare ribs.
Yeah, with a vaccine so I don't die. But yeah.
Yeah, put it in the sauce so I can
Oof.
spread it on. Anyway, she's like, well, let's all go to the movies like a girls' night. And they're like, what's wrong with you? It's date night. We don't hang out as like friends. Like, what? But I think that's her with her older sensibility of like, it's fun to just hang out with us as friends. And they're so concerned with like the dates and the guys and whatever, that they don't do that. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
So that night she's sleeping. Charlie climbs in through the window and it seems like he's going to smother her with a pillow.
I did think he was trying to kill her. Also, as he's creeping up to the house, he has what I call sneaky fingers. Did you guys see him? He was like moving his fingers in like a spidery kind of a way.
It's like the Babadook.
His makeup and hair look like a 1920s silent film villain, so this checks out.
But yes, he does hold the pillow over her face, contemplating whether to commit her murder, and then she marries him again.
Yeah.
Paige.
Ugh. He looks like the poster child for that game Don't Wink Daddy. Like he's wearing the like matching pajamas and the like jacket. It's weird.
I didn't play Don't Wake Daddy because my dad left.
That'll be $160, Mikey.
Did you guys try leaving a pack of cigarettes outside to see if he could catch a scent on it?
So what they did is they built like a big net system that had like a cigarette pack in their front yard under their tree. And they just caught a bunch of other single dads, but not their dad.
Nice.
It was a catch and release program.
Yeah.
Are you my daddy? No, okay, you can leave.
No, okay. But anyway, they go down in the basement. They go down in the basement and they have a very contentious conversation where he's just like, everything will be fine if I have you, because she's a possession, not a person.
Yes.
And she's like, you don't understand. I have my own wants and needs. So the fact that they still end up together is infuriating.
I know. But this is, I think, where Nicolas Cage thinks they break up.
Yes.
Because she tells the truth. Like, because he wants to confront her about what happened with the poet. And so she, like, just tells him what happened. She was like, yeah, we met up at the coffee place and we went for a drive.
Right.
Because she is entitled to date other people if he is.
Yeah.
I mean, ride. They went for a ride. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, yeah, she definitely went for a ride.
Yeah. But she and Michael, the poet, go out again to a club that is very clearly, well, they call it an R&B club, but they're some of the only white people there.
Yeah.
Which I think is more just indicative of Michael's want to experience things outside their little white friend group.
Yeah, because the R&B club is dope as shit.
It
I
is.
wanna go
The
there
band
too.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Of course. But this is where she finds out that Nicolas Cage is singing with that band. But it's also where he's telling her, he's like, as soon as I'm done with high school, I'm fucking leaving. And she's like, good, go. I want everyone to have freedom. And I do think this is like 40-something-year-old Kathleen Turner being like, look, this isn't going to last. Yes, go. Capture your freedom. It was fun while it lasted. And he's like, I'm going to Utah. And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, to live with Rita and chickens and polygamy's like legal there. And she's like, oh no, I'm not going to that. And he's like, but what about the other night? And she's like, it was great. You should go to Utah. I'm just not going to go with you. And you know what? It was this one passionate night that someday you'll write about. And he's like, yeah, like passion and bittersweet. And you're just like, oh.
He is going to be a poet. Like, you could tell. He's going to have a lot of hard times unless his daddy's rich, but he's going to be a great poet.
Unless he gets a good publishing deal and tenure at the university, you know?
Their English class, and this is way behind, but like, I was like really into what they were talking about in English class. Like
Same.
Hemingway,
I was like,
Gatsby.
yes.
I was like, this is my jam.
Anyway, she sees Charlie and is like, oh my God, wow, I didn't realize that he sang with this other band. I didn't know anything about it. But she and Michael leave, presumably to connect one more time.
This is where they make a Helen Hunt.
Oh, yeah. That's my brain personal headcanon is Helen Hunt is the poet's baby.
Heck yeah.
But we see Nicolas Cage meet with a record executive that's like, no, the band's great, but it's not because of you, is what he said. Like, you're
Right.
not a star, essentially.
Yeah, you just don't have it, kid, more or less is what he says. And Nicolas Cage hangs his head in shame. I love that he like walks over there with like all the confidence of an actual rock star. And we see within 10 seconds his dreams being crushed before him. And it's great. I love it.
It is pretty great. Now, here's the thing. It's like sometimes when people are like, hey, you don't have it. It's a person finally being honest with somebody who needs honesty in their life. And sometimes it's somebody who just doesn't get it, which I think is always really fun. When somebody's like, yeah, 40 people turned me down, but also I'm David Bowie. Like, those are always fun stories too.
More often than not, it's the people who revolutionize an industry
Yes.
who are turned down a bunch, right? Because that record exec is risk averse. He would probably turn down like the Beatles at this point, right?
Right.
Not realizing that that is the new wave that's coming in. He'll find a Beatles alternative, aka the Monkees.
The Monkees. I do love the Monkees.
Me too. I love the Monkees, but they were the U.S. answer to the
course,
Beatles,
of
right?
course,
Of course.
yeah.
But and listen, we got great music out of that compromise, but like that's what happens in all industries, really. So like the fact that David Bowie got turned down so much makes sense because he was fucking so revolutionary.
Well, I also think that it's a case of like, if this was really your dream and you believed in it, that one person saying you don't have it would not deter you. It would be like,
Oh, yeah.
you don't get it, right?
How many times have you been told no?
Oh, so many
Or
times.
same, yeah.
So many times. I had a guy tell me that if I wanted to write comedy scripts, I should probably be funny.
Oh shit! Did you end up taking that advice? Like, is that something?
Yeah,
that
I
you...
do try to be funny. But like, he wasn't going to represent me because of it. And now I bet that guy would kill.
Oh, I bet.
I bet he would love to. But yeah, no, it happens all the time. But like, my favorite is, neither of you watched the Wham documentary this year, right?
Yes, of course I did, Paige.
Okay, Todd, when they get turned down, their demo tape gets turned down by like 14 different people, and that demo tape had Careless Whisper on it.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think that stuff that you listen to on the radio is popular because it's the best music being made in your current city or state or country, you're crazy. They're the lucky ones that got discovered.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that what's on the radio and popular is bad, but there's tons of amazing musicians you will never know about.
Yeah, of course. Or who will go on to write songs for other people.
Exactly.
But so we cut to the next day. She walks past his house and she's clearly like, hey, maybe he does have it and I didn't understand and I didn't support it. And so she's kind of trying to like apologize, which she fucking shouldn't. She fucking shouldn't apologize. Whatever. But he tells her, he's like, yeah, that guy came to hear me and he said, I don't have it. And so it's nothing. And so she gives him a song that she worked on, which turns out to be a Beatles song.
She loves you. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, I really wanted it to be Sledgehammer, and then when he changed the lyric, it was Thrill Hammer, because that is what she referred to as his dick, and that would have been a funny, like, turnaround joke that he wrote a hit song about his dick, or her pet name for his dick, or whatever.
Hold on, I'm looking up when something came out.
It was Dick?
I was thinking of like, she came from 1985. If she came back, it was just like, okay, so this concept album is called Hammer Don't Hurt Him. And like,
Oh, God.
Have you heard of Parachute Pants?
have you heard of Parachute
Nick
Pants?
Cage invents rap in the 80s. Like,
Hate it.
hate it.
Hate it.
Hate everything about that. But it does have, honestly, Back to the Future vibes, right?
I know. I was going to say it was like, it links us to Back to the Future. Anyway, she goes and tells off that one girl at school who we barely saw, so it doesn't have a lot of emotional weight other than that girl is kind of a busybody. She would be the podcaster of her day.
I was gonna say the same thing because she was the one going around the reunion at the beginning with like a tape recorder and like microphone interviewing people.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about missing the sexual revolution? I was like, damn, girl.
I know.
Like, okay. Anyway, so she meets with Richard in the library and she's like, I got to try to go back in time because I'm trapped here. This is bad. I got pregnant at 18. I turned 18 in 2 days. And he's like, okay, so let's you and I get married. And she's like, no, because I got married. That's all I did. And so, like, I didn't get to do anything else. Spoiler, she still won't. This movie doesn't let her grow at all.
She hasn't learned this lesson yet.
No, not at all. She diagnoses the problem and then says, but I'm fine with it, I guess.
I'm fine. Don't
Well,
worry
I
about
mean,
it.
you run the diagnostic, your check engine light's on, and sometimes it's just like, you don't fix it.
Sometimes you gamble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mikey, I've been there many times in my life. It's called being poor.
Sure.
Well, she's making poor choices.
Exactly.
She runs into Charlie, and this is where he's like, yeah, I changed the yas to oohs. And I was like, no, God, how does it immediately ruin that song?
It does. It does, though. And that's a good Beatles song.
It is a good Beatles song. But so she decides, she's like, I'm going to go see my grandparents. And I think this is her taking herself out of the equation of like, I can't get pregnant on my 18th birthday if I'm not there, or whatever.
Well, this is where she's like, I got pregnant at 18 and I turned 18 in 2 days, so it can happen
Yeah.
at any point after that. I've got to go to my grandparents and isolate myself.
Right.
Because I'm very fertile right now. It's like the
So
way she's seeing
fertile.
it. It's so funny to me.
I do love her meeting with her grandparents and just talking to them and spending time with them, which is something that she knows she's not going to get to do once she goes back. But then her grandfather's like, I think I can help you. There was a storm 600 years ago and we can try it. And he's got like an Oddfellows Freemasons kind of thing happening.
Yes.
With lots of fun hats, hand signals, and chaos magic. And it's Crowley and weirdness, but it's the fun, fewer bodily fluids version. And so they're like, time travel is a cornerstone of our organization. I was like, wow, okay. But so they do a spell that is supposed to send her back, but lo and behold, the power goes out. Johnny snags her, steals her, and takes her out to this greenhouse, asks her to marry him. And he's like, if I quit singing, I'll get 10% of the business now. And I was like, this sets him on his trajectory to be the appliance king. Yeah. Like,
I mean, because he doesn't become a rock star because she gives him the song, because he ruins it. So like, yeah, he sets up, hey, I can give you the exact same life you hated at the beginning of this movie.
Right.
And she says yes again.
She does say, she's like, I'm not crazy enough to marry you twice, except that she exactly is, because he gives her the locket and she's just like, oh no, my kids, finally thinking about my kids. And she goes back to the reunion where she wakes up in the hospital and they're like, yeah, you had a heart attack. And Nicolas Cage is like, oh my God, thank goodness you're here. I got rid of Janet, but I'm back.
First off, Nicolas Cage has been there the whole time she's in the heart attack. But second, he is the ugliest human being on earth in this film coming back to that hospital. Like, it's horrifying.
yeah.
I would have been like, death himself has come to take me.
he looks rough.
Can I read you what I wrote in my notes?
Yes.
Why is Lestat talking to her at the hospital?
Lestat was attractive, bro.
No, he looks like Lestat just crawled out of his grave and was playing the piano.
Yeah,
and
the 100 years later.
Yes,
yeah, that's what he looks like.
I was like, wow, this guy looks like a chiseled but haggard vampire.
Anyway, he's talking to her in the hospital. And again, nothing has changed. He's still a total dirtbag. But this is where, in my notes, I said, this movie needs a wooden hand. And he says, I'll cut my right arm off for a second chance at you. And she's like, I need time, but maybe you can come to dinner with me and your kids on Sunday and I will make strudel. And that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you guys think about Peggy Sue Got Married?
I prefer Back to the Future.
Back to the Future is way better than this for sure, and came out the year before this. But I liked this movie, but that's largely because it's insane.
Yes.
Would I watch it again? Only if I was watching someone watch it for the first time.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I would definitely show this movie to other people who hadn't seen it. I wouldn't watch it again by myself. Like Moonstruck, I've watched again since we did that episode.
It's a good thing I purchased it for $12.
Wait, you bought this movie, Mikey?
100%.
Mikey, if you host a screening, I will come to your house with popcorn.
Todd, when I was watching this, I had the thought of like, I should just watch Moonstruck again after this. So I think I will join you in that and probably watch Moonstruck again.
It's really good. But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
Yes.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Peggy Sue, fun facts. So in the original script, Rosalie, who's the woman in the wheelchair at the reunion, was a gymnast at their school who was crippled in an accident.
So that got cut out too.
So in the original script, Peggy Sue tries to invent pantyhose, encourage people to invest in Xerox, and prevent Rosalie from hurting herself were her original things, and pretty much all of that gets cut.
Yeah.
They do leave in a line where Peggy Sue warns her sister about eating red M&Ms. Fun fact, red M&Ms were discontinued in 1976 when red number 2 dye was named as a suspected carcinogen, and re-released in 1986 after the film was released with a different red dye. I believe it's now red dye number 5.
Interesting. Okay.
The blue 1958 Chevy Impala that Nicolas Cage drives was later given away in a sweepstakes tied to the opening of the film.
I mean, it is a pretty nice, like, 50s throwback car. Like, it's cool.
It's pretty cool. This movie was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and as a result, he cast multiple family members, obviously Nicolas Cage,
for sure,
Nicolas Coppola, but then also Sofia Coppola plays Peggy Sue's little sister.
No shit.
And ends up in a couple scenes. And Sophia obviously is a very famous director in her own right.
Yes.
And she would go on to direct Kathleen Turner in The Virgin Suicides in 1999. So there you go.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Okay, sorry.
Yes. So Kathleen Turner's only Oscar-nominated performance is this film, which is wild because I love
What?
Kathleen Turner in almost everything. And
Oh yeah, she's a great actress.
she does great, but I'm just like, really? Like this, what else was out that year? I don't know. Todd, do you want to Google that?
Sure.
Best Actress 1985. So during production of this film, Kathleen Turner has said that she started to have terrible waking nightmares about her dead grandmother calling her on the phone.
Oh, weird.
Which, for me, those are the best parts of this movie, is her getting to reconnect with family members she has maybe lost or outlived. And so maybe that's why. So Deborah Winger was originally offered the role of Peggy Sue and was cast, but had a back injury from a bicycle accident, and she had to withdraw from the film.
Really? That's terrible.
The opening shot of the movie is actually an optical illusion because the camera and crew would have had to have been seen in the reflection of the mirror had the scene been shot in a conventional manner. So there's actually a body double for Kathleen Turner, and you can tell because they move out of sync at one point, and I noticed this when I was watching it. So that's how they kind of managed to mirror it. So giving the illusion that Kathleen Turner and Helen Hunt are reflections, but in fact, they are the real actors in the tableau with a body double sitting with her back to the camera and an empty mirror frame framing the hole in the wall of the set. So the set is actually beyond the mirror and the body double is in the foreground.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the role of Charlie before it was offered to Nicolas Cage, they also considered Steve Guttenberg, which I think would have been really interesting.
I think that would be a better. I really like Steve Guttenberg.
I love Steve Guttenberg. I feel like you would have gotten more of the like, maybe this person isn't so bad and we have just kind of lost touch with the thing that made us fall in love with each other, as opposed to Nicolas Cage's bonkers performance. But apparently Steve said that most of the time in his audition with Francis Ford Coppola, he just asked him about The Godfather, like the making of The Godfather. Apparently he was super into the movie. In a 2018 interview with Vulture, Kathleen Turner said that the first time she heard Nicolas Cage's voice for Peggy Sue Got Married, she was taken aback, but she didn't think it was her job to direct another actor's performance. So instead, she talked to the movie's director, Francis Ford Coppola, and Francis Ford Coppola was like, yeah, it stays in. So at that point, she said she made it work by choosing to interact with Cage's character in a way that explained her character's eventual disillusionment with the past. So I think that's why we get the weird movie that we have.
It is
Okay.
very weird. Yeah.
Yeah. The poem quoted by the poet, Michael Fitzsimmons, is When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. And he does say it's Yeats in the moment, but just if you were curious and wanted to look it up, because it is very pretty.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage has said that he based his character's voice on Pokey of Gumby and Pokey.
Yeah, that checks out.
Allegedly, Francis Ford Coppola and the producers hated it, and he was nearly fired, but Nicolas Cage argued to keep it. So apparently, Kathleen Turner was one of many people who were like, is he really going to talk like that the whole time? And Francis Ford Coppola was like, nephew, what are we doing here? And he was just like, please, let me do the voice. And so he got to do it.
I mean, but he does it the whole time.
Wow. It is objectively a terrible choice.
I'll end on this fun fact because it is my favorite. Nicolas Cage and Kathleen Turner are not friends. In fact, in 2008, Nicolas Cage brought a libel lawsuit against Kathleen Turner for falsely claiming in her memoir that he was arrested twice and had stolen a dog. They did settle out of court.
Oh my
And those are your fun
God.
facts.
Can I talk about the Oscars real quick?
Oh, yeah, please.
The movie came out in 1986, and you said 85, so I was looking at the 86 Oscars.
Oh,
And
sorry.
it was the 87 Oscars that she was actually nominated for. And
Ah.
so I had the Oscar stuff. So she was nominated for actress in a leading role, or best actress in a leading role, against Marlene Matlin for Children of a Lesser God,
Oh,
Jane
whoa,
Fonda for The Morning After,
Okay.
Sissy Spacek for Crimes of the Heart, obviously Kathleen Turner for Peggy Sue Got Married, and Sigourney Weaver for Aliens.
Oh, fuck.
Who won?
Marlene Matlin won for Children of a Lesser God. So yeah, let me, Paige, thank you for those fun facts. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Peggy Sue Got Married in 1986.
I think this is probably expensive because they have to make it all look like old timies.
Uh-huh.
But expensive for the time is different than expensive now. So I'm going to say $25 million.
Okay.
Let's say 15.
Mikey, you are closer. It was $18 million. But Paige, you alluded to it being, that money going a lot further in the 80s.
Right.
Yeah, that inflation jump would be to $50.5 million if we were spending that money today. Now, this movie came out on October 10th, 1986. It was number 2 that weekend. It was beat by Crocodile Dundee. That had already been in the theaters for 3 weeks. That was its 3rd week in the theaters and was still number 1. Peggy Sue Got Married was number 2. Jumpin' Jack Flash was number 3. Deadly Friend was number 4. And Tough Guys was number 5. Another Kathleen Turner movie was just barely out of the top 5 at number 6. Top Gun was still on the theaters at this point.
Yeah.
But what do you think
Woo.
Peggy Sue Got Married made in its opening weekend?
I'm going to say $8 million.
Okay.
10.
All right. Paige, you were closest. Actually, you're only off by $1.1 million. It was $6.9 million in its opening weekend. It was in the theaters for a total of 17 weeks. It did not leave the top 5 until its 7th week. Now, it went from number 2 to number 4 in its 2nd week and then stayed at number 4 until its 7th week. It was 6th. So it had some stay power in the theaters, and it was in theaters for 17 weeks total. But what do you think it made in the box office in 1986?
I'm going to say 47.
Okay. Mikey, what do you think?
How many weeks again? 6 weeks?
17. It was in the top 5 for the first 6 weeks.
I'm going to say 64.
Okay. It made $41.3 million. But if you adjust that for inflation, that's a $100 million movie. It's $116 million today. And that is your box office. So do you guys think Kathleen Turner and Nick Cage's character are still together?
God, I hope not.
I absolutely do not.
I think they're together. I don't think it's the right choice, but I think they
Yes.
definitely, she blew it. She got a chance to change it, and she didn't.
She literally got a chance to be 17 again and blew it.
So I definitely think they're still together.
So yeah, I think they're probably still together. Then that makes me very sad for Kathleen Turner.
Mm-hmm.
But Mikey, do you want to hit him with that romance scale?
Yeah, romance scale to scale 1 to 10. How romantic we found the film today. Paige.
That's going to be a 1 for me.
God.
This is a 1 because it ends very disappointingly.
Oh, it's a 1 but the bonkers scale is like a 10.
Oh yeah, the watchability scale is pretty high. Like I would definitely show this movie to somebody.
Commune aside, I feel like if she had gone with the poet, this would have gotten some lion roars and become more romantic.
Yes, absolutely, it would have.
That's our romance scale.
Yeah. So this week, Mikey made us watch Peggy Sue Got Married. Next week, it's my turn, right?
It is.
So I wanted to do a Kevin Kline movie, last movie, and I was going to try and do French Kiss, but we couldn't find it streaming anywhere. So I went looking for a Kevin Kline movie that we could stream. And I honestly do remember seeing this once as a kid and thinking it was nuts. But that movie I'm going to make you watch is a movie called Dave.
Okay, the one with the president?
Yeah, this is the description. Yeah. Shifty White House Chief of Staff Bob Alexander hatches a scheme to use a double for the president, Kevin Kline, at a public photo opportunity. And small business owner Kevin Kline steps in to play the president. And then they just replace the president with Kevin Kline. And he falls in love with, I believe, Sigourney Weaver
Okay.
in the movie. I remember seeing this as a child and thinking it was crazy. So I'm going to make you guys watch it next week.
All right.
So that is your homework for next week, to watch the movie Dave with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver.
All right.
So Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I don't.
Well, while you're looking one up, I'll go ahead and read one of our comments that was left under our Fools Rush In episode. And they're the people who left comments right after the episode came out are very different from the ones who left a comment a few days after this episode came out.
Mm-hmm.
But let's do one from before Matthew Perry passed away. And that was from Bookworm13. And that was just Justice for Todd's 17 again joke, which went by criminally unnoticed. And I'll say this, Bookworm, it went by unnoticed by me, because I didn't remember making a 17 again reference. It may have happened by mistake. I have seen that movie, but it was a long time ago.
Which movie is that?
It's a Matthew Perry movie called 17 Again. And I think it's Matthew Perry and Zac Efron plays the younger version of Matthew Perry in that movie.
I think so. And I I have not seen it either.
I think I have seen it, but it was a long time ago. But either way, I appreciate you spotting that reference and keeping me honest. Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I do.
Well, whose review are you going to read this week?
Becky 6583.
Well, what do they have to say?
Super funny.
Why, thank you.
Great show. Bella's mom was the same actress in all movies. 5 stars.
Oh,
For Twilight?
I guess.
that is a very
that's
specific thing we talked about in one of our Twilight episodes, I guess.
Okay.
All right, well, that's good to know. Well, thank you so much, Becky6583, for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have Mikey read your review or me read your Spotify comment, leave us a 5-star review or a comment, and we'll do that on an episode. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin, and that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on, but Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab and Cult Podcast. So, guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show.
Yes.
On Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome everywhere. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee, 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion. That's my best Nicolas Cage impression in this movie.
Wang.
Bye. Thrill Hammer.